The Atlanta Braves get another dominant start from Max Fried, and they need it as the offense struggled once again, but did enough to get a 2-0 win. We'll discuss that, and also we'll begin our MLB Draft prep, looking at some college stars that you need to keep an eye on this weekend as the NCAA College Baseball Tournament begins. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at shortstopball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. You're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button as well to help support the show here at Locked On Braves. If you're listening on the audio version, thank you so much as well. Make sure you leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. I really appreciate those reviews as they do help out the show a ton. If you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. I try to get all those comments. Y'all been flooding me with the comments here lately, though. I do really appreciate that. Still try to get to as many of those as I can, and appreciate all those who let me know that you're an everydayer here on the show. We got Andrew Hunter on with us live, Derek Goodgene in here, Jeffrey Humphreys as always, Nick's in here, Patrick Rosser, Windgracer, John Lee, Indy Texan, OBS says, what's up? Like the old Budweiser commercials. Thank you so much for joining me here. Chris Fields, what's up to you as well? Excited about Spencer Schwellenbach. Yeah, I didn't mention that in the cold open, but we're getting a Spencer Schwellenbach debut tomorrow, and I'll break him down later in the podcast as well and what we could see out of him. A lot to get to on today's show. We'll talk about Tuesday's 2-0 win, Max Fried's performance. The offense continues to struggle. Want to begin our MLB draft prep as we're a little over a month away from that happening. So dive into some of the college players that I saw at the SEC tournament this past week. And like I said, we'll end things previewing Wednesday's game, which features a major league debut for Spencer Schwellenbach. A little bit of surprise there. So we'll get into what we should expect from the 23-year-old on Wednesday. Before we do all that, though, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. Find the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy when you use eBay Motors. Bring home that big win, just like the Braves did on Tuesday. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. It was a 2-0 win for the Atlanta Braves on Tuesday night. Certainly nothing to get overly excited about, but at this point, Braves win a game, I get excited. I mean, I get it. They're 10 games above 500. That's all good and well, but if you're watching this team here lately, you know wins just aren't coming easy right now for the Atlanta Braves, and it didn't come easy on Tuesday night. They needed Max Fried to be maximum Fried, as my postcast partner Grant McCauley likes to say. And we'll be back on it tomorrow and Thursday, recapping the next two games. But just need a little break here as we get into the season and long stretch of games coming up. But I'll obviously have you covered here at Locked On Braves. But Max Fried, 8 innings, 7 hits, 1 walk, and it was a questionable walk. Probably should have been a strike 3 call. But either way, it did not go his way, and he does have 1 walk on the night, but no runs, 6 strikeouts, 103 pitches, 6 hard hit balls allowed on the night. That's actually a little high for Max Fried. Only 9 whiffs on 45 swings, 16 called strikes. Talked about it coming into the series. Nationals are a team that doesn't strike out a lot, usually makes a lot of weak contact. You saw on Monday that batted ball luck. Now, they had some hard hit balls against Charlie Morton on Monday too, but just not a ton of batted ball luck for Charlie Morton in that one. Really, Max Fried didn't have a lot of batted ball luck in this one either, and that's what happens when you can put the ball in play. And we'll talk about that more for the Braves offense, but Max Fried, because he does always get that weak contact, 83.6 miles per hour average exit velocity against him on Tuesday, led to 4 double plays, which was huge for Max Fried. Often in this start tonight, he had leadoff runners on base, so was able to quickly get them off the base paths with double plays, had a pickoff in there as well. So did a great job of working around some traffic, did Max Fried. Only 9 sliders in this one, mostly four-seam, curveball with some changeups and sinkers mixed in. And that's what makes Max Fried, I think, so special. Last start, we talked about it. I loved the sequencing he was doing with the curveball and slider, and he was starting to throw that slider a little bit more. This one, he doesn't throw the slider. He leans a little bit more on the changeup in this one. And it's just, when you have that many pitches that you can go to, you're able to keep hitters off balance, and you don't know what's coming. If you're a hitter watching his last start, you're thinking, okay, I got to be geared up for that slider. It's a pitch he threw a lot in his last outing. This time, you only saw 9 of them in 103 pitches. So it's what makes Max Fried great and so special. It's different than I think what we see from a lot of the other great pitchers in baseball, because Max Fried is one of the great pitchers in baseball. He gets overlooked because he doesn't have the big strikeout numbers, but it's just amazing to watch him pitch because of all the different pitches that he has. And any given night, he could feature one or another. It depends on what's working that night, depends on what the team is doing against him. And he can just continue to mix it up and keep hitters off balance. And that seems to be what he was able to do a lot of tonight. Max Fried allowed 11 runs in his first 2 starts, as you know, got off to a rough start in 2024. He's allowed just 13 runs since then. That's not just earned runs. That's counting all runs. He allowed 11 in the first 2 starts, just 13 in the 9 starts since then. He's had 4 starts of allowing no runs. He's obviously had the 2 complete games, including a complete game shutout. He's an ace. I don't know what else you can say about it at this point. You can, like I said, argue it all you want. I think he, again, gets overlooked because it's not what we typically consider an ace today, where he's just, a 12 K per 9, like a Spencer Strider. But he gets the job done. He's working deep in the games, which is great for this Braves team, especially in this long stretch of games that they're in. He's just an ace of that staff. And you got 2 of them right now with the way that Chris Sale is pitching. Like, we're not going to get into the discussion tonight of where the extension is for Max Fried. Should it have already happened? That'll play itself out. But there's no question in my mind he's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and he's proven that over this last 9-start stretch that he's had since those first 2 uncharacteristically bad outings to begin the season. Now, moving on to my next point from this game, stop it with the strikeouts. And saw some in the comment section talking about that as well. Just too many strikeouts. John Lee saying Braves hitters make every team starter look like aces. They got to hit better, and they need better approaches. They're striking out at alarming rates, free swingers. And that's true to a degree. Now, what you may find surprising is that the Braves are swinging at a lot of pitches in the zone. They're just missing them. And that's maybe a little bit more concerning. You look at the strikeouts on the season, it's 15th most strikeouts in Major League Baseball as an offense, which maybe isn't as bad as you think, but you look at the teams ahead of them who have struck out more, and most of them have played 2 or 3 more games. So you add another 15, 16 strikeouts to the Braves total, and they're bottom 10 in all of baseball in strikeouts. Since April 20th, that's the date that I always kind of go back to when this offense really started to sputter. They're 22nd in baseball. That was entering Tuesday night before they struck out 12 times on Tuesday night. They were 22nd in baseball with a 23.8% strikeout rate. And, as was said, it feels like they are. Every pitcher they face, it seems like they're tying or setting a career high in strikeouts, just as Jake Irvin did on Tuesday night. And while that's a great name, great, happy for him, I'm tired of seeing all these strikeouts. It's not what we come to expect from the Braves after last year. Years before that, certainly, I think you could have said that it was, I don't want to say a boom or bust team, but there were a lot more strikeouts in their game before last season. And that's what kind of made last year so special. And now you're seeing the strikeout rate go back up, and you're seeing bad approaches from hitters up there that, they're just not connecting on good pitches. They're swinging at pitchers' pitches, and they're missing the ones, except for Marcell Ozuna, they're missing ones out over the plate. And that's what's been frustrating about this team all year long. And I mentioned Ozuna a second ago. Where would this team be without Marcell Ozuna? He got the home run tonight to get the scoring started after Jake Irvin left the game. And, in that at-bat, he saw, I believe it was 4 pitches. None of them in the zone, and yet he was down 0-2 is a call that didn't go his way, and then he swung over a pitch down below the zone that the pitcher tried to double up with that pitch and left it out over the plate, and you can't do that to Marcell Ozuna, especially with the zone that he's in, and honestly, the zone that he's been in for over a calendar year now. He's going to hit those mistakes, and he did on Tuesday, and it was the run that the Braves needed. Weren't asking for much with what Max Fried was doing on the mound and Raisel Iglesias closing it out. I know what Mookie Betts has done and playing in the field and moving a shortstop. Yes, that makes him even more important as a player. Ohtani, the numbers that he's putting up, I still believe, and I'm not as tuned into every team in Major League Baseball as I am the Braves. As much as I hate to admit that, I wish I could watch every game. But Marcell Ozuna, in my mind, is the most valuable player in baseball to this point. I mean, he has single-handedly kept this offense afloat at times, especially, since that April 20th mark. He's been doing it all year, but since everybody else cooled off, Marcell Ozuna has remained hot. And I don't know where this team would be. They're 10 games over 500. I think they're probably a 500 team without Marcell Ozuna. He has been that valuable to the Braves so far this season. There's a long way to go, and hopefully the rest of the offense picks it up. But I cannot imagine that there is another player in baseball that has been more valuable to their team than Marcell Ozuna has been the first 2 months of the season. With what he's done offensively while everybody else has struggled so mightily, he has been huge. See Jet Sports saying, hot take, Jared Kelenic will be an all-star stepping up. A good at-bat from him tonight. I love to see it. Matt Olson followed up the Marcell Ozuna home run with a hit himself. He moved first to third on a hit, and then Jared Kelenic punched one the other way. Really good swing. I was hoping that was going to get down for a hit, but at the very least, he punched it out deep enough to score Matt Olson from third base. I love the little fist pump from him after that, seeing him execute like that. I love to see that emotion from him. He is definitely a guy that I'm looking for right now to step up, in the absence of Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm not asking him to be Ronald Acuna Jr., but it's a chance for him to play every day now. They've said that it's going to be Kelenic and Duvall getting those everyday opportunities in the outfield. I think it will be an opportunity for Jared Kelenic to show he deserves to be an everyday player. So that's great to see an at-bat like that from him to capitalize and get that insurance run. So a 2-0 win for the Braves. Great stuff for Max Fried. Great stuff for Marcell Ozuna. Stop it with the strikeouts. Hopefully Jared Kelenic can step up for the Braves in this everyday role. Next, we'll turn our attention to the MLB Draft, and we're going to look at some of the college stars that you need to keep an eye on as the NCAA Tournament starts this weekend. We'll discuss that here next. Passion, drive, and patience. What keeps your ride or die alive is eBay Motors, and that's exactly what you need these days. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, or maybe you're like me and you got that minivan, getting those kids to daycare each and every day, they got everything you need at eBay Motors. They got you covered. Over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. You like watching sports on TV all day in the background while you work, kind of like I do. I got to have some background noise going on. And make the switch today to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up on Locked On Braves the rest of the week, we'll take you around the league on Thursday, and then Friday we'll have our mailbag episode, so get your questions ready to submit for that episode coming up this week. We are beginning our draft prep as we head into the month of June next week. We will get ready for the MLB Draft, everything that you need to know about the Atlanta Braves coming up for this year's draft. That coverage begins here. They got picks 24, 62, and 99. So not fantastic. 3 picks in the top 100 means they're also not going to have a ton of bonus pool money to spend. So might not be the best draft for the Atlanta Braves. They're really going to have to make these picks count for them. And today I want to talk about some of the college stars because the NCAA baseball tournament starts this weekend. All the games will be streaming on ESPN Plus. So it is a great chance for you to get your eyes on a lot of these college prospects and see who you like and who you want the Braves to take. I know last year, if you were following along on the podcast, I talked a lot about Hurston Waldrop. I didn't think he'd actually get to the Braves, but he was somebody that I was very excited for. It doesn't usually happen like that for the Braves. They usually take some obscure player that nobody was talking about. But hey, last year, if you listen to this podcast, you knew who Hurston Waldrop was before the draft happened. And this year's draft starts on Sunday, July 14th and runs through Tuesday, July 16th. So again, a little bit about a month and a half away from that. We'll cover it each and every week here on Locked On Braves leading up to that. I was at the SEC baseball tournament last week, which is the best collection of college prospects in the country. A lot of these guys going to go in the top of the draft. So I want to talk about some of the names that I saw there, some names that I would like to see the Braves take in the upcoming draft. If you got a name that you're looking forward to seeing in this year's draft, let me know down in the comments section below. If you're here with me live, let me know in the comments section over there. I'm going to go through MLB Pipeline's top draft prospects. Some of these names are not going to make it to the Braves. I would love to have Charlie Condon from Georgia. Obviously, that tie in there makes things even better. He's hit 443 this year with 35 home runs. Not sure where he'll play, but can play at any corner spot. So I'll make a good play at third base in the tournament. He was only there for one game, had a couple of lineouts, but he is just fantastic. He's going to go in the top 5. Jack Caglione from Florida. I've been torn on him. His swing to me looks like one that would get exposed at the major league level against good pitching, but I honestly feel that way about Ohtani's swing. But both of those guys are just so big and so long. They're able to pull off of it, which is what makes me kind of not like their swing so much, but they're still so strong and long that they're able to get to those pitches on the outer half and still drive them. He's got big power. I mean, you're talking 30, 40 home run power at the plate. He also has a big fastball. You're talking 95 to 100 on the mound. Can he do both? Which will he do? I think he's probably going to be a hitter. I'd love to see somebody who's a hitter that can also be a reliever, come in late and kind of close the game out. I think that'd be pretty cool, and I think that's something that Cags could probably do. Either way, he's not going to make it to the Braves. Hagen Smith also not going to make it to the Braves. Didn't get to see much of him in Hoover. He basically just threw a bullpen in that one. But he's had one of the better seasons for a pitcher when you consider the offensive environment in baseball right now. And if you're not tuned into college baseball, offense is just through the roof. It is the opposite of what we're seeing at the major league level right now, where pitching is just dominating right now. But Hagen Smith, a 1.48 ERA, 154 strikeouts in 79 innings. And what I love about Hagen Smith, he's out of Arkansas, or pitching for Arkansas, is when I watched him his freshman year, because he was a big-time high school recruit, I wasn't all that impressed. Like a small kid from the left side, throwing low 90s, but he's gotten better each and every year. He's gotten bigger and stronger. Now he's throwing mid to upper 90s. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He's going to be a stud. I really like Hagen Smith. Now we get into the area, some of these SEC players that maybe the Braves could have a chance on. A couple of bats here. Billy Amick from Tennessee, Tommy White from LSU, Dakota Jordan of Mississippi State. For Amick, it's an aggressive approach at the plate. It's not a profile that I'm necessarily in love with, but he does have some power potential. Tommy White's interesting. He has power to all fields. He doesn't swing and miss a lot, but still has a lot of power, as I said, and can go gap to gap. His stance hurts me to watch. Now, it works for him, but it's kind of he inverts his feet where they're pointing towards each other, especially with 2 strikes. It's even more exaggerated. But he's a good hitter. I think he's going to hit at the big league level. I think he's going to hit for power, 20, 25 home run potential, maybe 30 in his best years. And I think he's going to be a 270, 280 hitter. So I like Tommy White. I don't know where you play him. He's playing third base, and I saw him make a couple of good plays over at third base. But I don't know where you ultimately move him. But he is a good hitter. Dakota Jordan is one that interests me out of Mississippi State. He was a baseball and football recruit going to Mississippi State. The Braves have kind of liked that lately, drafting some of these athletes. Good bat speed. He's still growing, and that's why I kind of like Dakota Jordan. I don't think he's a finished product at this point. So maybe there's a little bit more to develop with him. I think he's ultimately a corner outfielder with some good speed, maybe 2020 potential. So I do like Dakota Jordan. I don't know if he's exactly the bat you want to take in the first round. I don't know if any of those guys really are. But I do like, I think Tommy White would be somewhat of a safer pick. Dakota Jordan might be one with a little bit more upside. Now, Bryce Cunningham is the one that I saw at Hoover that I was just really impressed with. He's got a solid frame, 94, 96, four-seamer, miles per hour on his four-seamer, slider, changeup. I really like him a lot, and I think there's still growth for him as a pitcher. He might be a little bit of a reach if you took him in the first round at 24th overall, but maybe you get him under slot a little bit and take a big risk on your next pick. But Bryce Cunningham is somebody that I really do like. I think there is some potential there. He never really reached it, at least consistently, at Vanderbilt. Maybe the Braves can unlock that a little bit. So Bryce Cunningham's a name that I am keeping an eye on. Ben Hess of Alabama, left-hander, came on late in the year. He's somebody that I really want to watch in the NCAA tournament because it was a rough beginning to the season, but his last couple of starts have been the Ben Hess that we thought we could see. Good fastball slider combination. He's a bit of a floor play for me, probably a back-end starter. Carter Holton from Vanderbilt, good fastball slider combo, but a reliever wrist. Christian Moore, he won the Triple Crown during SEC play. That is pretty remarkable in the toughest conference in baseball. The bat seems legit. He might settle at second base, could be a center fielder, but not sure that he quite has the arm for that. So don't exactly know where he's going to play, but I mean, you win the Triple Crown in SEC action. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I like Christian Moore there. Probably not at the 24th pick, but if he were to fall to you at 62, which is probably not going to happen, I like Christian Moore there. Durangelo Sanja, and hopefully I'm saying that right. Ambidextrous pitcher for Mississippi State, throws hard, mid-80s slider, a nice sweeper from the left side, but most think he's probably just going to stick with the right side going forward. There's plenty of reliever risks there, but would be a little bit interesting. Ryan Prager, Texas A&M, a high floor back-end starter for me. Luke Holman's another one out of LSU, big 6'4" frame. I think there's room to add there, especially in his lower half. He can get on the Spencer Strider regimen. He could really, I think, tick things up a little bit. 92 to 94 with good command on his fastball, plus slider. I think if he falls to that 62nd pick and he's there, I would really like Luke Holman with that pick because, again, I think he's somebody that still has room for upside. Drew Beam out of Tennessee, another kind of floor play for me, back-end starter. Gage Jump, another LSU pitcher, somebody that I was impressed with at Hoover, a lefty, a low 90s fastball with good induced vertical break, has a cutter, slider, and curve as well. His arm action, you watch him pitch, it's kind of that Cutter Crawford arm action. If you watch Cutter Crawford pitch, which he pitched against the Braves, so you probably have. So it might have some mid-rotation upside there from Gage Jump. Peyton Stovall, hitter for Arkansas. He's another player that went to Arkansas and was a top high school prospect. They just got better and better. He'd be a second baseman, but he's shown some power, feel for hit. Again, maybe that 62nd pick could be a bat to look for. I'm going to give you two more names to watch, especially if LSU makes a deep run. Thatcher Hurd and Christian Little. Both of these guys have a ton of potential, and they haven't put it together yet. And those are the arms that I really like to target in the draft and look at, are arms that have the potential that just never really could figure it out at the college level. Because maybe you get them to the big leagues, you get them in that Braves system, which has done a great job of developing pitchers. We're going to talk about one here in a second, and Spencer Schwellenbach. And maybe they figure something out. And if not, either one of those guys you feel like could be solid bullpen arms, pumping out high 90s velocity. So those are two guys that maybe with that 99th pick, I would see them taking a shot on as a couple of guys that have a lot of prospect pedigree in the past coming out of high school, but just haven't reached that potential yet. And maybe the Braves can unlock something with them there. So that is our first round of draft prep. Again, if you're getting ready to watch NCAA tournament this weekend, keep your eye on some of those players. There's more college players out there, but I cover the SEC, so I'm more familiar with that side of things. I know somebody asked in the comments section about Bozana of Oregon State. A lot of really good players out there. I just only got time to focus on so much, but I'll get into some more of these guys that I think the Braves could be targeting as we go throughout this draft prep season. Next, we'll turn our attention to Spencer Schwellenbach, who's going to make his major league debut on Wednesday, and I cannot wait. We'll discuss that here next. It's a winner-take-all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. You look over at FanDuel right now. You look at some of the World Series ops. They still have Paul Skeens numbers out there. Paul Skeens to record 3+ strikeouts in the first inning versus the Tigers, plus 1,400. So they got some fun stuff out there for Paul Skeens. Los Angeles Dodgers, plus 260 to win the World Series. The Braves have fallen down to the 4th best odds at plus 800. And you look at division winners right now in the NL East. It was tied last time I looked. Now the Phillies are minus 200 and the Braves plus 165 to win the NL East. You can see all that over on FanDuel.com. You look at the NBA finals coming up now. The Boston Celtics are the favorite with the Mavericks behind them, and the Timberwolves with some long odds as they try to stay alive tonight. And in the NHL, Stanley Cup finals over there, the Dallas Stars are the favorite with the New York Rangers behind them. So again, you see all that over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Also visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. Visit FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so a little bit of surprise, a lot of a surprise for the Atlanta Braves on Tuesday as they have decided to call up Spencer Schwellenbach to make his major league debut on Wednesday against the Washington Nationals. Now, I did not see this coming at all. And I know a lot of you probably questioning why not Hurston Waldrop. Could be that they just want to give him more time to work on things, which is certainly understandable. Could also be that it's just where things lined up in the rotation. One thing I'll say about Spencer Schwellenbach is that he would have been Rule 5 eligible this offseason, so they were going to have to add him to the 40-man roster eventually. They could have waited this offseason to do it, but they go ahead, give him a shot now, and I'm all for it. Again, the Braves have shown if you can prove yourself at the minor league level, once you get to Double-A, you are just a phone call away from making your debut. And he's 23 years old, right-handed pitcher, and 110 minor league innings under his belt. Not a long track record, but 2.21 ERA, 0.95 WHIP, 201 batting average against 26 walks to 106 strikeouts. He started 2 games at Mississippi. He's only had 2 starts at Double-A. 5 hits, 1 walk, 17 strikeouts, and no earned runs in those 2 starts. Fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. You want to kind of get a deeper dive on Schwellenbach. I posted my breakdown of him from this past offseason, so you can go back and watch that. But really good breaking pitch, has some downward action on it, a hard breaking slider, also a mix in a slower curve with some more horizontal movement. And I was impressed by his changeup that I saw him throw. So potentially, 4 pitches there. His fastball has some arm side run on it. It's a mid-90s fastball. He can dial it up a little bit more than that. But again, 4 pitches that I really liked from Spencer Schwellenbach. I ranked him my 4th best prospect in the Brave system behind AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop, J.R. Ritchie, and then I had Spencer Schwellenbach right there. But I had Ritchie and Schwellenbach kind of in another tier behind those top 2 just because I think that highly of him. I was really impressed with what I saw, and I think he's got a chance to stick in the rotation. We'll see what happens, but just 65 innings from Schwellenbach in 2023. You may not remember when the Braves drafted him, he immediately had Tommy John surgery, so he didn't pitch that year or the year after. Just 65 innings last year. He's already thrown 45 this year, so I can't imagine there's too many innings to be had for Spencer Schwellenbach this season, but I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he has mid-rotation starter in him, And I think there's ability for a little bit more as well. I think that highly of Spencer Schwellenbach. Again, I was just really impressed with the outings I saw from him that I watched when I broke things down this past offseason. So I can't wait to see what he does on Wednesday. And he'll be going up against Mackenzie Gore, who was top pitching prospect in all of baseball for a little while back when he was with the Padres. And it seems like he's finally hitting that potential. His fastball velocity is up this year. Batter's still hitting 253 against it, but the Rays have notably struggled with high velocity this year. So we'll see if that's a problem for them against Mackenzie Gore, who is a left-handed pitcher. Big whip rates on his off-speed and breaking pitches, 34% on the slider and curve, 43% on the changeup. So some good swing and miss stuff. Now, a 3.62 expected ERA. That would tell you maybe he's been a little bit lucky so far this year and maybe not quite as good as he has been, but a 27.6% strikeout rate, 7.6% walk rate. Those are both good numbers. A 246 expected batting average. It was okay. He's doing a better job of avoiding barrels this year. Just 2 earned runs or less in his last 6 starts. So, again, he's been really, really good for the Nationals, a top prospect. Again, looks like he's starting to put things together. So, going to be another tough task for this Braves offense. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, the free 24/7 sports streaming channel, delivering you all the biggest stories that you need each and every day. You find that on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks to Windgracer, Jay Doc's Cards made it in here, Jeffrey Humphreys, Bloopers Intrusives, New Turbo Gensu, all making it here to the end with me. Thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.